morning. The bibliographic references and the publisher's source article are accessible in the description, under the video. If you want to support the dissemination of scientific knowledge, I invite you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. It's free. Also, please, can you click on the thumbs pointing towards up? Abstract. This research investigated the effectiveness of parental mediation on reducing harm from media. Specifically, it examined the magnitude of the effects of 3 main parental mediation strategies on reducing the amount of media use and the incidence of media-related risks. A meta-analysis was conducted using 52 empirical studies on parental mediation, which represented a total sample of 74,159 participants and yielded 122 independent correlations. The results indicated that restrictive mediation was more effective than active mediation in decreasing the amount of time children spent on media, whereas the effects of active mediation and co-using were greater than those of restrictive mediation on reducing the incidence of media-related risks. According to the moderator analyses, age, risk type, medium, and culture significantly moderated the effects of active and restrictive mediation on reducing the amount of media use and the incidence of media-related risks. Article. Since the advent of electronic media, particularly the Internet, media have surrounded children and adolescents and, thus, have become an essential part of their lives. Media provide children and adolescents with substantial opportunities to obtain a large amount of information and communicate with other individuals, thereby promoting their social and emotional development. According to socialization theory, parents, the primary agents of children's socialization, play crucial roles in the process through which children acquire and develop social attitudes and behaviors. They are also responsible for supervising their children's media use to balance the opportunities and risks that media pose. In communication research, scholars use the term parental mediation to describe the interactions between parents and children in regard to media use. Many scholars have defined parental mediation as strategies that parents adopt to mitigate against the negative effects of media on children and have examined the effectiveness of these strategies. However, few scholars have explored the effects of parental mediation on enhancing media benefits. The current media-rich environment may leave young individuals vulnerable to a larger number of media-related risks than in the past. Children and adolescents have been exposed to inappropriate content, undesirable contacts, and cyberbullying, which threaten their physical and psychological health. Numerous studies have explored how parents regulate their children's media use to protect them from media-related risks and have examined whether parents' strategies successfully reduce these risks and decrease children's media use. However, this research has yielded mixed results. For example, Nathanson 1999, Lee and Key 2012, and Elwin and collaborators 2008 reported that parental restrictive mediation reduces children's exposure to media-related risks, whereas CHEN and her colleagues indicated that parental restrictive mediation was positively associated with online risks. Thus, the entire range of empirical evidence should be systematically analyzed to understand the effectiveness of various parental mediation strategies on reducing harm from media and to identify the potential reasons for the mixed findings. This study aims to systematically analyze the effects of various parental mediation strategies on reducing children's media use and media-related risks, as well as to examine the magnitude of the effects of various parental mediation strategies across 54 empirical studies. Furthermore, for potential moderators, age, risk type, medium, and culture are selected and analyzed to explain the variance between the directionality or magnitude of the effects of parental mediation strategies across studies. Parental mediation of children's media use. Since the proliferation of television and the Internet, children have been exposed to various media risks, including inappropriate content and undesirable contacts. Parents have engaged in various mediation strategies to support their children in becoming competent media users to maximize the opportunities and minimize the risks posed by media. Scholars have investigated how parents influence their children's adoption of new media technologies and enhance their children's learning outcomes after they view educational programs. However, the majority of parental mediation research has focused on how parents help their children avoid potential harm from media use. Many studies have explored how parental mediation affects the amount of time children spend on a certain medium or how different mediation strategies affect children's exposure to various media-related risks. The current meta-analysis follows this harm reduction approach to examine the effectiveness of parental mediation strategies. The theoretical framework of parental mediation is rooted in media effects and information processing theories, as well as interpersonal communication theories, and it explains how interpersonal communication between parents and children reduces the negative effects of media on children, based on different types of interpersonal interactions between parents and children. The broad strategies of parental mediation have been identified in the contexts of television viewing and internet usage, that is, active mediation, restrictive mediation, and co-using. Therefore, this meta-analysis explores the extent to which these three different parental mediation strategies influence the amount of media use and the incidence of media-related risks. Active mediation, also referred to as instructive mediation, refers to parents' positive engagement with their children to discuss and explain media content and to talk to or guide them regarding appropriate media use. Parent-child discussions on television content have been shown to help children cultivate a discriminating and critical stance toward media, which enhances the content, but the children learn from media, changes their attitudes toward media pornography and violence, and lowers the levels of television-induced aggression. In more recent years, an increasing number of studies have been conducted to examine how parental mediation influences children's internet use. These studies have indicated that active mediation is effective in decreasing the length of internet use and the likelihood of being engaged in online risks, such as contact risks, privacy disclosure, and cyberbullying. According to self-determination theory, when parental mediation is active, children typically feel that their parents respect their perspectives and support their autonomy, which increases their sense of self-determination and fosters moral internalization. As a result, children tend to obey parental guidance and engage less in antisocial behavior. Based on these considerations, active mediation is negatively associated with both the amount of media use and the incidence of media-related risks. Restrictive mediation, also referred to as rulemaking, refers to parental efforts to set rules to limit the time that their children are allowed to engage with media as well as restrict the content that their children are exposed to. For example, to regulate their children's internet use, many parents have used parental filters or monitoring software to check and restrict the online activities and content that their children are allowed to engage with. Parental restrictions have been reported to decrease the time that children spend with media. Many studies have also suggested that restrictive mediation is effective in buffering against negative media influences on children. For example, Livingstone and Helsper reported that restricting online interactions could lower the likelihood of children experiencing content and contact risks online. Markham and collaborators and Wallach and collaborators suggested that parental restrictions were negatively associated with children's exposure to sexual solicitations. Navarro and Jasinski determined that children of parents who used filtering software were less likely to be victims of cyberbullying. However, several studies have demonstrated that overly restrictive parental controls may boomerang. Research by Nathanson indicated that restrictive mediation was related to more positive attitudes toward television violence and sex as well as the viewing of such content. CHEN and Ismail indicated that restrictive mediation was positively associated with risky social media behavior among children. Therefore, this study examines the extent to which restrictive mediation is associated with the length of children's media use and their exposure to media-related risks. Co-using, also referred to as co-viewing or co-surfing, refers to parents engaging in media together with their children, without actively engaging in discussions. Valkenburg and collaborators and Warren indicated that parents engaged in less co-using than active and restrictive mediation. Research on the effectiveness of co-using has produced mixed results. Studies have demonstrated that co-using may enhance children's learning from media and reduce children's exposure to online content risks. However, Co-using has also been positively associated with the amount of television viewing and levels of television-induced aggressive inclinations. Thus, this meta-analysis explores the degree to which co-using is associated with the time that children spend with media and the likelihood of children being engaged in media-related risks. According to the previously discussed literature review, the following 3 research questions are proposed to question 1. To what degree does active mediation affect the amount of media use, and b. the incidence of media-related risks? Question 2. To what degree does restrictive mediation affect the amount of media use, and b. the incidence of media-related risks? Question 3. To what degree does co-using affect the amount of media use, and b. the incidence of media-related risks? Method: literature search. To retrieve relevant studies, the following key words were used: parental mediation, active mediation, instructive mediation, evaluative mediation, parental guidance, parental instructions, restrictive mediation, regulated mediation, regulate mediation, parental restrictions, parental limits, parental control, co-using, co-surfing, co-viewing, co-playing, parental presence, shared television viewing, then shared me. We searched the following databases: SICINFO, Medline, Communication and Mass Media Complete, EBSCO, Educational Resources Information Center, Web of Science Direct, PubMed, and Nursing and Allied Health Source. We searched all studies published before January 2017. Furthermore, the reference lists of the collected publications were reviewed for additional studies. Non-peer-reviewed papers, such as book chapters and conference papers, were also reviewed to reduce the potential influence of publication bias. Filter process. Studies were included in this meta-analysis based on the following inclusion and exclusion criteria. The article should focus on the effects of parental mediation strategies on the media consumption behaviors of children. Research on the antecedents of parental mediation was excluded. B. The quantitative information for meta-analytical purposes that could be computed or converted into effect size estimates must be available in the selected studies. Potential data include sample sizes, test statistics, means, correlations, and odds ratios. To include more studies in this meta-analysis, emails were sent to some authors to obtain relevant data. The original search process identified 296 studies. We reviewed all abstracts and found that 74 studies examined the effects of parental mediation on the media-related behaviors of children. Furthermore, we obtained the quantitative information to calculate the effect sizes from 52 of these 74 studies. Therefore, after the filtering process, the final sample for this meta-analysis included 52 studies published from 1987 to 2016, which represented a total sample of 74,159 participants and yielded 122 independent correlations. Table 1. Coding procedure. All articles were coded by the first author of this study. In addition, a random sample of 15 studies i.e. 27% of the studies was coded by the second author to establish inter-rater agreement. Specifically, the study characteristics, predictors, moderators, and statistical indexes in each study were coded. The inter-rater agreements, Krippendorff's alphas, were 0, 88 parental mediation type, 0, 83 outcome, 0, 91 sample size, 0, 86 age group, 0, 83 risk type, 0, 86 medium, and 1, 0 culture, which are acceptable. Calculation of effect sizes. To compute the effect sizes, we obtained the statistics of comparable formats as reported in each study. The data formats mainly included correlations, odds ratios, and means with standard deviations. We entered the data in the comprehensive meta-analysis software program and subsequently converted the data into one uniform form of the Pearson product moment correlation. According to Cohen's guidelines, regarding the effect size for social sciences, a tiny effect size is indicated by a Pearson product moment correlation of 0 to 0. 10. A small effect size is indicated by a Pearson product moment correlation of 0, 10 to 0. 30. A medium effect size is indicated by a Pearson product moment correlation of 0, 30 to 0. 50. and a large effect size is indicated by a Pearson product moment correlation of 0.5 or greater. The total effect sizes of parental mediation and outcomes were averaged Pearson product moment correlation across studies, and each observed correlation was weighted according to the study's sample size and standard error. In terms of the homogeneity test, a Q statistic was used in this meta-analysis. According to the guideline presented by Hedges and Vevier, when the Q statistic is significant, the random effect model should be employed. In this meta-analysis, the random effect model was used, as most Q statistics were significant. Results. Weighted correlations. The weighted correlations between the 3 parental mediation strategies and outcomes are presented in Table 2. Restrictive mediation R equals 0. 12. P inferior to 0. 0.001 was more effective than active mediation R equals 0. 0.5 in decreasing the time that children spent with media. According to Cohen's guidelines, the effect size of restrictive mediation was small, whereas the effect size of active mediation was tiny. Both weighted effect sizes were significantly different from 0. However, the results showed that co-using did not significantly affect the amount of media use, as its 95% confidence intervals crossed 0. With regard to the incidence of media-related risks, the effects of 2 mediation strategies, active mediation R equals 0, 0.8, P inferior to 0, 0.01 and co-using R equals 0, 0.8, P inferior to 0, 0.01 were tiny but larger than those of restrictive mediation R equals 0, 0.6, P inferior to 0, 0.01. All 3 effect sizes were significantly different from 0, as their 95% confidence intervals did not cross 0. Moderator analyses. Based on the recommendations of many scholars, a significant Q statistic indicates significant heterogeneity of effect sizes across different studies, which is required for a moderator analysis. In this study, all effect sizes were significantly different. Thus, moderator analyses were conducted for all effect sizes. With regard to the moderator selection, first, parental mediation researchers indicated that children are more likely than adolescents to obey parental authority. In general, as children's age increases, the significance of parents' influence on their children's socialization decreases. Thus, age may moderate the effects of parental mediation. Second, parental mediation studies have documented that the effects of parental mediation may vary depending on the type of risk. For example, Loon and Lee determined that parental mediation was effective in reducing children's consumption of pornographic and violent content but not in reducing privacy disclosure or cyberbullying victimization. Misnar, Cowrie-Casabry, Gadler, and Dasiak indicated that active mediation is more effective in preventing conduct risks than contact risks. Third, the generational divide in media knowledge has become a factor that complicates the effectiveness of parental mediation. Parental mediation is more effective when parents have a high level of media knowledge and skills. Parents typically have less knowledge of and experience with social media and online games compared with television and the internet. Thus, children typically follow parental suggestions or instructions only in the context of television and the internet. Finally, in Asia, parental power is strongly valued. Most Asian children show reverence to their parents and obey their instructions. In contrast, children in Western cultures tend to pursue autonomy and are more likely to challenge parental authority. Thus, parental mediation may vary in effectiveness depending on the culture. Based on these considerations, age, risk type, medium, and culture were selected as potential moderators in this study. According to the moderator analyses, age significantly moderated the effect of restrictive mediation on the time that children spent with media QB equals 17.95, P inferior to 0, 0.001, Table 3. The effect of restrictive mediation on the length of media use declined as children's age increased. Moreover, restrictive mediation strategies backfired when used with emerging adults. Risk type was also a significant moderator that explained the differences among the effect sizes of restrictive mediation QB equals 21.40, P inferior to 0, 0.001 when assessed for media-related risks Table 4. Specifically, Restrictive mediation was effective in mitigating contact risks and content risks. Moreover, its effectiveness was stronger for contact risks than for content risks. However, restrictive mediation also increased the likelihood of children being addicted to media. Furthermore, medium was a significant moderator of restrictive mediation, and the amount of media use QB equals 7.70, p inferior to 0.05, and it was a significant moderator of active mediation on the incidence of media-related risks QB equals 11.61, p inferior to 0.001. Table 5. Restrictive mediation was only effective in reducing the risks and the time spent on television and the internet. It was not effective for video games and social media. Finally, culture significantly moderated the effects of active mediation on the amount of media use QB equals 4.42, p inferior to 0.05, and the incidence of media-related risks QB equals 3.96, p inferior to 0.05. Table 6. The effectiveness of active mediation was greater in Eastern than in Western countries. Discussion. This meta-analysis not only reviews the effects of parental mediation strategies but also examines the directionality and magnitude of the effects of parental mediation. Specifically, the results indicated that the effect of restrictive mediation on decreasing the amount of media use was greater than that of active mediation. One plausible explanation is that restrictive mediation typically involves parents implementing rules to regulate their children's usage of television and computers and to restrict the amount of time spent with this technology, which directly reduces the time that children spend with media. Although active mediation involves parents explaining and discussing media content and appropriate media consumption behaviors, these methods do not overtly impose restrictions on the amount of media use. Nathanson's study indicated that restrictive mediation signaled parents' disapproval of their children's media use behaviors. However, many children considered active mediation as an endorsement of media use. Therefore, the effect of restrictive mediation is stronger than that of active mediation on reducing the amount of media use. The results also demonstrated that active mediation and co-using were more effective than restrictive mediation in protecting children from media-related risks. This finding is consistent with most previous studies. Active parent-child discussions regarding media and their content help children develop critical thinking skills and become educated media consumers who are able to protect themselves from media-related risks. Cowell indicated that the main role of co-using is to help parents understand how their children use media as well as help children better understand guidance from their parents. Thus, co-using may represent an effective strategy particularly well accompanied by other mediation strategies. Moreover, co-using does not typically include parent-child conversations regarding media content. This silent parental presence is viewed as supportive and may suggest that media content should not be taken seriously. Therefore, the effects of active mediation and co-using are greater than the effect of restrictive mediation in mitigating the incidence of media-related risks. Although restrictive mediation directly reduced the time children spent on media, it increased media addiction. One plausible reason is that restrictive mediation may not be able to help children develop a less favorable or negative attitude toward media use. According to cognitive dissonance theory, children may use the constraints from parents as the justification for their behavior of not using media. For example, a child may think, "I did not watch TV because my parents did not allow me to do so. It is not because I do not like it." Thus, this group of children may hold favorable attitudes toward media despite harsh parental restrictions and, consequently, may be more likely to become addicted. Furthermore, in terms of media types, restrictive mediation was effective in reducing harm from television and the internet but not harm from video games. This finding may be explained by a fact that parents have less knowledge and experience regarding online games compared with television and the internet. Children may be less willing to accept parental instructions in terms of playing online games, particularly when parents impose harsh restrictions on them. It also should be noted that this finding was documented in only one previous study, which merits caution in interpreting the results. In addition, according to the results of the moderator analyses, age was a significant moderator of restrictive mediation and the amount of media use. More specifically, the effect of restrictive mediation on the length of media use declined as age increased. Moreover, restrictive mediation strategies backfired when used with emerging adults. The importance of parents in the socialization of children typically declines as children grow up. When children enter adolescence, they begin to pursue autonomy and independence. Thus, children typically obey their parents, whereas adolescents and emerging adults tend to resist parental authority, particularly when their parents strictly restrict their media use. Second, the moderator analysis of risk type demonstrated that the type of risk explained the variance in the effects of parental mediation. Specifically, restrictive mediation was effective in mitigating contact risks and content risks. Moreover, its effectiveness was stronger for contact risks than for content risks. However, restrictive mediation also increased the likelihood of children being addicted to media. Studies have also indicated that the effects of parental mediation vary across different types of risks. Thus, the findings suggest that parents should employ different strategies of parental mediation to protect children against diverse media-related risks. More specifically, parents may use restrictive mediation to reduce the incidence of contact risks and content risks. However, to address children's conduct risks and addiction, parents should implement active mediation and co-using, as the effectiveness of these strategies does not vary across the various risk types. Thus, these two mediation strategies are effective in protecting children from the 4 different types of risks. However, their effectiveness in reducing contact and content risks is lower than that of restrictive mediation. Third, medium significantly moderated the relationships between restrictive mediation and 2 outcomes: the amount of media use and the incidence media-related risks. More specifically, restrictive mediation was effective in reducing the risks and the time spent on television and the internet, but not on video games and social media. One plausible explanation is that most previous parental mediation studies only operationalized restrictive mediation as a rule-making strategy. However, parents may use many different approaches to check and restrict their children's social media use. For example, parents may add their children as a friend on social media to determine when and how their children use social media. Thus, it is necessary to explore parental mediation strategies of children's social media use in the future. Furthermore, studies have indicated that parents have less knowledge of contemporary digital media productions such as social media and video games for children than other types of media. Thus, children typically do not accept parental guidance and instructions for these mediums. Finally, culture significantly moderated the effects of active mediation in reducing the length of media use and the incidence of media-related risks. Furthermore, the results indicated that the effectiveness of active mediation was greater in Eastern than in Western countries. One plausible reason is that an active mediation strategy may be regarded as a normative influence. Parents tell their children what they want them to do or not do, and the children develop their perceived subjective norms of media use, such as "I think my parents think I should not go to that website." Previous research has indicated that compared with Western individuals, who are more individualistic, Eastern individuals, who live in collective cultures, are more subject to the influence of subjective norms on the formation of their intention to perform a given behavior. Thus, this difference may be one plausible explanation for why active mediation is more effective in Eastern than in Western countries. This reason, however, requires further examination in a cross-cultural context. Practical implications. This meta-analysis provides practical implications. For example, to protect children from media-related risks, parents are encouraged to employ active mediation and causage, as the effectiveness of these 2 strategies in reducing the incidence of media-related risks is greater than that of restrictive mediation. Moreover, although restrictive mediation is effective in reducing the time children spend on media and some media-related risks, it is at the expense of the opportunities that media provide. Parents should also be informed that this restrictive strategy may boomerang and increase children's addictive media behaviors. In addition, age is a factor that parents must consider when employing restrictive mediation. The moderator analysis suggests that to avoid undesirable effects, parents should use less restrictive mediation when their children are entering emerging adulthood. Limitations and future research. Despite our efforts, several limitations remain. First, previous research has indicated that in addition to reducing the harms of media, parental mediation improves its benefits. However, this meta-analysis only addressed the effects of parental mediation on harm reduction. Second, this meta-analysis focused on the effects of parental mediation strategies. However, it did not examine the antecedents of these mediation strategies. Nevertheless, a substantial number of studies have examined how family communication, beliefs regarding media negative effects, and media consumption affect parental mediation. Thus, future research should meta-analyze the antecedents of different parental mediation strategies. Finally, many studies, particularly early studies, have not provided the relevant quantitative data for meta-analysis. Thus, these studies were not included in our analysis. Furthermore, this meta-analysis suggests several possibilities for future research on parental mediation. First, future research must devote greater effort to comparing the effectiveness of parental mediation on different risk types and various media and cultures, as the results indicate that the effectiveness of some mediation strategies is dependent on these factors. Second, although the results indicated that the effectiveness of parental mediation varies across different age groups of children, limited studies have examined the effects of parental mediation on emerging adults. Many scholars have indicated that emerging adults are also vulnerable to negative media effects. Thus, future studies should examine how parental mediation strategies affect emerging adult media consumption. Based on these findings, theoretical advances in parental mediation may be made more fruitfully. Third, although the current findings indicated that the parental mediation strategies are effective in reducing harm from media, the effect sizes are not large. Thus, gaining a deeper understanding of reducing media harm is warranted. For example, according to behavioral change theories, future research should explore the effects of other factors, such as normative influences from peers and perceived self-efficacy, on children's media use. Conclusion. This meta-analysis provides an exhaustive statistical synthesis and summary of the empirical evidence regarding the effects of parental mediation on reducing harm from media, and it clarifies the directionality and magnitude of the effects of 3 broad parental mediation strategies. Furthermore, the findings indicate the heterogeneity of effect sizes across different studies and thus identify moderators' age, risk type, medium, and culture that account for the differences identified across studies. Thus, this meta-analysis addresses research gaps in the current parental mediation research. Declaration of conflicting interests. The author S declared no potential conflicts of interest with respect to the research, authorship, and / or publication of this article. Funding. The author S received no financial support for the research, authorship, and / or publication of this article.